Hey, thank you for not believing in me. Yes, Lord. Anybody listening right now, don't never let nobody opinion of you determine yourself.
What's up? What's up, everybody? It's your boy Lorenzo, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Let That Marinate podcast. Man, it's a beautiful day. God is good as always. I hope your day is going amazing. I hope everyone is blessed out there, and I hope that, you're making it one of the best days of your lives, man. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we have to, do what we got to do to make sure that we live this thing called life in the most positive way, you know what I mean? And just make the best of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is, man. So listen, man, I just felt like coming on, doing this quick podcast. I really wasn't going to do it, because I didn't know what I really wanted to talk about because, so much to talk about. It was hard to just narrow it down to one, but this particular topic kind of just popped up in my head because as I'm scrolling through social media, I'm seeing so many posts from people about how they, how cutting off people is the best thing to do, and how uh letting people go and not wanting people in their lives and not wanting to deal with people and all that other stuff. I'm just reading all this stuff and I'm like, man, it's crazy how we put so much unfair expectations onto people, right? And it's like as soon as they don't meet one of those expectations, we're ready to let them go. We're ready to cut them off. We're ready to cancel them out. And I'm like, that's crazy how that works, right? It's crazy how that works because they're 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 constantly watching out for something, for something to mess up. They're watching out for someone to just do something that causes them to say, you know what, I don't think I want you anymore. I don't think I want you in my life. I don't think I can deal with you anymore. And I can't help but, wonder how many of us have ever taken the time to acknowledge that sometimes it's us that don't always have the capacity to meet expectations or to provide something for someone or something. And you know what I mean, like why is it that we never take the time to examine ourselves first and look within ourselves and you know just kind of analyze our lives and take inventory of our lives, you know what I mean? Because it's easy to point the finger and look for something else to blame as opposed to looking at ourselves, right? Because the fact of the matter is, it's not always them. Sometimes it's us, right? It's not always the job. Sometimes we go on a job with the wrong attitude and with the wrong spirit and the wrong, mindset. Like sometimes we walk into a job with that negative energy, right? We walk into a job with that bad attitude, and now everyone's day is messed up and your day is messed up because you've pretty much given off this energy that you're now receiving back, right? Because you get out what because you're going to receive back what you put out. And if you're putting out negative energy, if you're putting out bad energy, then yes, expect to get it back. So yeah, sometimes it's not always other people. It's not always someone else's fault. Sometimes it's us. Sometimes it's us. Um, and which is why you know I wanted to talk about how we all deserve grace. We all deserve grace because we are all out here catching hell in some form. We're all dealing with something. We're all battling and struggling with something, and man, we all deserve grace. So you know, before you look at a person in a negative way and you're constantly nitpicking, something about them that you don't like, or, before you start judging people and, based on, what you see on social media or based on their circumstances, before you start judging people, take the time to look at yourself first. Take the time to think about what it is that you had to go through and what it took for you to get through that situation. Think about how there was a time when you needed help, when you needed support, when you needed the encouragement. Right? Think about that. Think about that for a moment before you start looking at other people and you start judging them. You know, because again, it's easy to just, you know, point the finger at people. It's easy to call out someone's, you know, imperfections and whatever fault that they may have. It's real easy to call them out on certain issues that you may see. But we never do it with ourselves though. We never do it with ourselves. And again, we all deserve grace. And you know, and me personally, I shared on my podcast on the last episode what I had gone through over the years, and you know, I'm gonna be honest. I learned a lot about myself over the years. You know, both good and bad, and I had to not only recognize, you know, some of the things that I've overcome. You know, I didn't want to just, you know, harp on all of the wrong that was done to me. I had to, you know, point out the things that I was doing wrong too. I've hurt people as well. I've pushed people away. I've messed up relationships. I've messed up friendships, you know, and part of my healing journey it part of my healing journey was to, you know, take accountability for, you know, my actions and for my wrongdoing. You know what I'm saying? Um and I'm not saying that I'm completely there yet because, you know, I still feel like there's a lot of people I need to apologize to. You know what I'm saying? But I had to, again, give myself grace and, of course, not beat myself up, but at the same time, acknowledge that I did do that. I had to own that. You know what I'm saying? And because you can't get through life thinking that you can just, you know, you can't just you can't think that, you know, not dealing with that part of your life, sweeping that under the rug. You can't think that that's gonna, you know, just go away because it's not. You know, so it's better to deal with it than to just, you know, sweep it under the rug and just, you know, try to let, you know, nature take its course by, you know, it dying down on its own. It's not gonna do that. It's not gonna do that. You got to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? And the first thing that you have to do when dealing with it is acknowledging that you're the one that caused it, or at least acknowledge the fact that you played a big part into why it went the way that it did. Right. So again, man, we all deserve grace. We all deserve grace. And, you know, we just have to keep in mind, man, that, you know, as I said, we're all going through something, man. We're all going through something. And you know, and giving yourself grace, you know, of course that means accepting um it means accepting that your emotions are valid, right? Um they're valid responses to, you know, whatever challenging situation, you know, that's going on. Um and again, rather than, you know, suppressing those feelings or trying to sweep everything under the rug, you know, just acknowledge them. That's it. It's that simple. Acknowledge them. Acknowledge them. You know what I mean? because this journey that you're on, this path that you're on, and we all have our own different paths. But just remember, you're trying to grow into a better person. You're trying to become a better version of yourself. So in order to do that, you have to keep in mind that you still have to deal with the things within yourself. It can't always be about cutting people off. It can't always be about, just letting folks go. It doesn't start with that. It starts with you. And if you take the time to just really look within yourself and analyze what you have going on within yourself, you'll see a whole difference. You'll have a whole different, thought process about that whole cutting people off. You'll start thinking, well, maybe I pushed those people away. Maybe it wasn't them. Maybe it was me that pushed them away with my attitude and my bad energy and my negative vibes. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was the way that I was talking to them, or maybe it's the way that I was treating them. You know what I mean? So take the time to like really examine yourself before you start trying to do all these external things. It has to be an internal work. That is my podcast for today. I had to come on and I had to talk about that because, it's, because I know for me on my journey, that's one of the things that I had to do was give an account for the things that I've done. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're all going to have to do. Give an account for what you've done. Not what nobody else did, but you. Until the next podcast, stay blessed, stay great, stay amazing. Salute. Let that marinate.
Hey, thank you for not believing in me. Yes, Lord. Anybody listening right now, don't never let nobody's opinion of you determine yourself.